this will be our last lesson in our course on writing cursively. Okay, now there's just a few things to remember. First of all, we want to remember how to connect the words, and you remember how to connect the clocks. Here's a clock here. That's a clock. It starts at 2 o'clock. And here's a bridge. Here's an L. That's a bridge, isn't it, huh? No, that's a mountain. Okay, now he's ready to go up the mountain, but he has to connect with the clock. He has to go to 2 o'clock, so he goes up over the clock and stops and comes down. So that's the way we connect all the clocks. All the clocks get connected by running up the clock and stopping at 2 o'clock. All right? Now, another thing to remember is when you have words like I and T and J, you wouldn't have a word like this in one word, and I don't think so, no. So you're going to finish the word and then come back and dot your I, cross your T, dot your I. We don't stop to dot them. We go right on to the end. Okay? Now, the next thing, after you've learned how to do all the letters and write them correctly, oh, and I would advise you, don't use cursive writing until you've learned every letter. Don't use it too soon. Use printing until you have learned how to make every letter and how to connect them. All right? Now, once you've learned how to write all the letters and you go flowing along like the river and you make them correctly, then the next thing to do is to make them the same size so they will look beautiful on your paper. So you have to use this lined paper. See, there are 4 lines. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 5 lines on this paper. But don't use this paper until you've learned how to make them easily and how your hand can flow. And then you'll use this paper to make them more perfect, more beautiful. So there's 5 lines, and all the small letters have to fit between the middle lines here. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? And see how they're all the same size because they all touch the line. I used to say to my students now, touch the line, but don't go outside the line. So if you touch the line each time, they'll all be the same size. Now you see how the tails are all the same size? They all touch the bottom line. And see how the tall letters all touch the top line. Here's another tall letter touches the top line, so forth. And now also for the capital letter. Now, I was able to write from A to Z without taking my pen off the paper. If I had to take it off here because I ran out of paper, but if I had a long paper, I could write from A to Z without taking my pen off the paper. Then I'd have to go back and dot my I, dot my J, cross my T, and cross my X. But, all right, and then the capital letters. See, every capital letter has to use 1, 2, 3 lines. And every small letter has to fill up 2 lines. So that's capital and C. All right? So now, we're finished with our course. But you know, every course has a test at the end, doesn't it? Don't you always have a final test? So, if we had a final test, we could have something like this. We could say, how many letters in the lowercase have dots? And the answer would be 2. How many letters cross? 2. T and X. How many letters in uppercase wear hats? Oh, only 1. This. Okay? How many letters begin at 2 o'clock on the clock? The answer is 6. Lowercase. There's a couple in uppercase too. Okay? So that would be a very easy test, and I think you would all get 100%. But now the work for you is to practice. You know how to make them correctly, and we're going to have your brain and your hand going together, flowing like a river, but you have to practice to make them perfectly. But I used to tell my students on YAP, I used to say to them, you know, a typhoon can come and blow away every single thing you own, but nobody can take your education from you. And nobody can take your education of how to write cursive from you. So please put lots of practice into it so you will write beautifully. And someday, when you go to get a license for a driver's license or a pilot's license or a marriage license, and the clerk says, "Oh, you write beautifully," you can say, "Sister Rose taught me." And I don't know where I'll be then, but I'll be happy and proud of you. And so grateful that our lives could come together like this. So for now, bye.